Coffee is a big part of my day. Not only does it help me get through the morning, but I just really love the taste of good quality beans. Trade is a subscription service that brings great coffee from indie roasters all over the country right to your door. Tell Trade what you typically like, whether it's espresso or single origins or even decaf, even how you like to make your coffee, and they will recommend the right beans for you. Or you can just choose from over 450 different coffees. Then you select how often you'd like the coffee delivered to you. Shipping is always free, by the way. And if you need to skip a week or so, just do that. You can do it. No charge at all. Then pick back up when you're ready to get beans delivered to your door again. Go to unitedwedrink.com/trade to get started with Trade today and start getting some of the best coffees in the country delivered to your door. That's unitedwedrink.com/trade. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 100th episode of a podcast that probably has no business having 100 episodes. It's United We Drink, right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mikey Revich, and I feel every bit as old as 100 episodes. And with me is a person who hasn't been on for that long, so he's not as aged and gruff as me. Gruff isn't a word.
I believe it is.
Is it? Okay.
I believe so. I think you succeeded in using a word.
Yay! I know things sometimes. Kevin Abbott's here as well.
Yay! 100 episodes. How many have I been on, Mike? What do you think? 20? 25?
I'm going to say like 20 to 30. Somewhere around there.
When the show really took off and just the meteoric rise.
Meteoric. That's what they're calling it. So, Kevin, to celebrate such a monumental occasion, an occasion that people will be talking about for generations to come. It's up there with, like the wheel, the sandwich, and 100 episodes of United We Drink.
Those three things together, huh?
Yeah.
The wheel, the sandwich, United We Drink podcast. That should be a t-shirt.
I'm on it right now. So you said you wanted to wait to talk about this on the next episode, but you just very briefly, you just came back from Ireland, an amazing trip, at least from what I saw on pictures. I'm very jealous of your time there.
Yes, it was a business trip for my wife and also a family trip because we do have family that lives in Ireland. And our brother-in-law was born in Ireland, lives in the U.S. His mother lives in Ireland. So it was a great trip. We were there for 10 days. Actually, 11. We were supposed to be there for 10 days. Ended up being there for 11 because international travel is absolutely miserable. It was miserable going out. It was even more miserable coming back. But while we were actually in the country, it was incredible. I loved being in Dublin. That's where we stayed half the time, and then we spent a good amount of time out on the west coast in Killaloe, which is a smaller. It's still a city, but a smaller city town that my brother-in-law's mother lives in. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it looked like a great time. I mean, beautiful scenery. Your sister-in-law is like, I don't know why people come here. And it's like, yeah, no one should ever go there, ever.
It is gorgeous, especially coming from a guy who has lived in Florida for over 20 years. to be in a spot that listen, people come to Florida and they lose their minds over the beaches and the palm trees, and they love the tropical environment and think it's. I mean, especially the Keys, they find it can be completely gorgeous. I've never been much of a Keys guy. The nature in Florida does not appeal to me. The nature in Ireland really does. The mountains, the hills, it's a much more comfortable and appealing environment for me. So even going to like the Cliffs of Moher, which is something that absolutely every tourist has to do, it was breathtaking and something that I really, really appreciated. Basically, a lot of the sightseeing stuff that I don't like doing in other cities, I really enjoyed doing there. And then I just enjoyed being in a small town and hanging out and going to pubs and having good beer, eating good food, and spending time with family. So it was really wonderful.
Awesome. Really happy for you. All right. So what are you drinking for this occasion?
So I am drinking a Voodoo Ranger IPA. This is the regular Voodoo Ranger IPA. I had said some maybe not so kind things about some of the variants over the last, several months. And I had not had a Voodoo Ranger in quite a while. It was suggested for Old Favorite Friday. So I went and picked up a 6-pack to acquaint myself with the brand, and I'm really enjoying it. This is one heck of a beer. I might not like some of the fruitier iterations of this, but this is really nice. So it'll be featured soon on Old Favorite Friday.
Nice. And friend of the show, Matt Gilliland, aka Matty Smooth from New Belgium, sent us some beers recently. I got to get a bottle over to you here soon. I just noticed that there's one that you definitely will not be getting because it's a nitrogen conditioned sour. And I know how much you do not like nitrogen beers.
Listen, I'll drink anything. I was just in Dublin drinking a lot of Guinness, and I really enjoyed it. I will say it was very interesting for me because I was talking with my brother-in-law, and his father claimed, and he claims that Guinness just does not taste the same here as it does in Ireland. And I will say, I didn't get that. Guinness tasted very similar to what I taste here in the States. I would say that I think that some of the places we went had super clean lines, and the beer tasted probably its peak freshness. And there's something about being there. It's like something about being in Napa Valley that makes the Cabernet taste better. I think there is a time and place aspect of it, of what and heightens the flavor and the enjoyment. So maybe it was like a tick up higher, but I did gain a new appreciation for the beer, just being there and drinking it and drinking so many other beers in Ireland. So I'm not sold on nitro. It's still not my favorite thing. My favorite Guinness beer is still the Foreign Stout, which is carbonated, like, God intended. And also the West Indies Porter that I tried while I was there that blew my mind. One of the best beers I've ever had in my life was by Guinness. And that'll be featured on Old Favorite Friday coming up. But I'm not as opposed to nitro maybe as I thought I was.
Is that that's available stateside? West Indies Porter?
No. I was at Guinness and saw it, and I didn't get a chance to pick it up. I picked it up at like a local grocery store. It's the only beer that I brought back.
Oh, okay.
I tried that beer. It blew my mind. It was so good. And it was a perfect porter, layered, flavorful, drinkable, ticked every box. I mean, incredible. Inspired me to want to make a porter like immediately. And I knew that Ralph Renault, our head brewer, and it was just here, that would drink with us, had to try it. So I brought a bottle home for him and a bottle home to do on Old Favorite Friday. And that was the only one out of all the great beers I had that I was like, I got to bring this back with me.
Awesome. I'm drinking a beer from a little brewery called Odd Breed. I don't know if you've
Odd Breed beer.
Of them. Yeah. This is Oddities and Outliers Blend 1.
Oh, okay.
Bottled June 11th, 2020. It's a blend of Saison Wild Lager and Turbid Mash Wild Ale. This drinks like a fucking goose to me. It is funky. It is acidic. It is oaky. It is delicious. I am loving this. Yeah, I decided to bust out something special for the day. night.
Did I give you that? Where'd you come up with that bottle? Did you get it from Oddbreed?
I got it from somewhere. I honestly don't remember. So, I remember someone at my work's husband. I don't know if you know Scott Morrison. He bartended at Oddbreed for a little bit, and he's known Matt for a long time. Worked with him at Bruzy. He gave me a bottle of something for our baby shower, it might have been this. Or it might have been. I still have fresh off the farm kumquats of Oddbreeds as well, so it might have been that as well. But I have this. I don't. So yeah, got it from somewhere. Oh, you know what? I did buy it at the brewery. I remember we went to. It was like 2021. We went to IKEA, and it was hell, and we needed to drink after that, so we went to Oddbreed coming back home.
Cool. Well, it's a little bit different for something like Oddities and Outliers because it is a blend, straight blend every year. But it was batch 2 that won the gold medal at GABF. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
But yeah, this is amazing, as I would expect from such an amazing brewer.
Some of the best sour ales in the world, bar none, my friend. I'm always amazed by the stuff that Matt kicks out.
So for this, we wanted to just kind of be free form. It's our 100th episode. Not really have too much of a plan. You know, like the television network. There's just
you're not aware of this as a listener, but Mike is doing interpretive dance while he's saying this. So just imagine Mike Urevich dancing in a leotard, moving fluidly as he describes the rest of this. Go ahead, Mike.
It's something that I picked up in the second half of 2023. I decided to make like a half New Year's resolution, and that was to take up interpretive dance, but only do it over the internet for Kevin to see.
Only for audible medium.
Yes. I mean, that's it. I'm trying something different here. I'm what's an iconoclast? Is that
a trailblazer?
There I am.
Yeah.
I'm blazing trails. So I wanted to talk about just stuff. Like people who are longtime listeners of this show have gotten to know us, our opinions on the beer industry, but have also gotten to know us kind of just from our lives as we speak openly about a lot of stuff that we do outside of the beverage industry in our personal lives. So opening up to some of that, because people actually seem to care about who the hell we are. And with that, I wanted to open this up with a question that I know Joel's probably, as he's listening, he's like, I have so many opinions, because you two are both really big MCU fans, and there's a lot of strong opinions about what is going on with the MCU, with Phase 4 ending, Phase 5 beginning, and also just not really knowing when we're going to get stuff because of the strikes and what they're going to be. What is your opinion on the current state of the MCU, Kevin?
It's pretty bad. I mean, when you look at the difference between how things were 5 years ago and we were still working through major characters that had been introduced early on, which are, tentpole characters and the biggest properties they owned, Marvel owned and could use in their movies, like Captain America and Iron Man. And people will say that Iron Man, when the original movie came out, was still a minor hero, and that's true to an extent, but Iron Man has always been a huge character in the comics and a cornerstone character in the comics, so it might not have crossed over into the mainstream like Batman or Superman, but still a big character with a lot of history to work off of as far as storylines that could really translate to screen. And of course, they peppered in Guardians of the Galaxy, which I had never heard of before, and played around with some other characters that weren't as popular. But I think the big issue with the MCU is just trying to cram too much content of newer characters into a cinematic universe that is becoming less and less connected and more complicated without really delivering any of the real home runs that we saw in the first several phases. I mean, Secret Wars was terrible. That was not a good TV show. It was embarrassing in some ways to watch. It looked like it was shot on a low budget and was just poorly constructed, poorly conceived, and kind of exposed a lot of the weaknesses of the shows on Disney Plus. And other than Guardians 3, which I had some issues with myself, but enjoyed overall, most of the recent movies have been tepid to bad.
Rumors are about Secret Wars that a lot of it was reshot.
Oh yeah,
after the initial production. But going back on something that you said, and I am a very casual MCU fan, so take what I say with a lot less pull than like Kevin. The thing I think that is hurting them, along with the too much stuff, is that they used a lot of the well-known superheroes right up front in the first 3 phases leading up to the big Infinity Saga, and now a lot of those actors have decided to step away. They're finished with it, and now they're trying to hope that some of these new characters are good, or new characters in the MCU, but ones who were lower tier in the comics are going to be like the next Guardians and just catch wildfire. And I don't think that we've really seen that happen with anyone yet.
Well, but the thing is, they still have the potential. Doctor Strange is a major character. It's a major actor, and he's still around. You've got that. You've got the introduction of Shang-Chi, which was a very good movie.
I think that's my favorite of since Phase 4. Yeah.
So, and they've done nothing with sense. Right, you've introduced some. I mean, you still have Loki hanging around in one of the best TV shows that was there. You've got Wanda, who WandaVision was incredible, did a great disservice to the character during a Multiverse of Madness. So there's a lot of carryover characters, and Sam Wilson as Captain America. There's so much meat on the bone, but so many of these characters have been introduced and utilized in the TV shows, which just seem smaller and just haven't had the gravitas of being on the big screen. And then you have misses with the Eternals. Thor's still around in one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I think that you have underperformance and misuse of the legacy characters that are still around. I'll give you a wrestling analogy, Mike, because harken back to our history together. The veterans in the MCU, the Thors, the Benedict Cumberbatches, Doctor Strange, Wanda, they should be getting over the new people, right? And right now, they're just being misused and mishandled, and we're not getting a chance to raise the next people up in level and get them over with the fans. And that's one of the big issues that we're seeing. Nick Fury's still around. He could have been getting over another character in Secret Wars, and they introduced a new character in Gaia that is just the most ultimately powered person in the history of the MCU, basically. And it was introduced in a seemingly low budget Disney Plus show that seemed like a throwaway and had some embarrassing moments. So I'm really looking forward to the Marvels. I'm looking forward to that. I love Kamala Khan. Her show was great. It was different, and I even though there were some problems, I really enjoyed it. I loved the first Miss Marvel movie. Brie Larson, in my opinion, did a great job. I don't care what any of the trolls think. So there's still some good things happening, but they need to cut back the content a little bit, really only do the strong projects, and cut down on some of the extraneous characters. Let's get some people over. Let's get some investment in some of the characters before we decide, oh yeah, now they're just popular. We can put them anywhere and people will be excited.
Yeah, that's what I think. I was trying to watch most of the TV shows and then just found myself overwhelmed, and it's like, yeah, no, I can't. Like I'll watch. I'm gonna watch Loki when that comes out, because I really enjoyed the first season of that. If they do a Moon Knight second season of that, I'll watch that. I really enjoyed that. I also think I said that Shang-Chi was probably my favorite movie, but my favorite thing done during this phase 4 to phase 5 was Werewolf by Night. I thought that was awesome. I really liked how different it was, and it introduced us to a couple smaller characters, and it was really just a self-contained story that didn't really show. There's a lot of people theorizing the connections to the bigger picture, but I just found it a very enjoyable, what was it, 1 hour special, and it really just like that.
Werewolf by Night was brilliant. I loved it as well. What the MCU has done for the most part with their shows, and I really like She-Hulk, by the way. A lot of people
like
have
that
shit
one
on
too, yeah.
I enjoyed it. What a lot of the Marvel properties have done in the past several years have they tapped into what happened with Captain America, the second Captain America movie. Where they wanted to do a spy thriller and do that in the MCU, and they did it really, really well. And
That
now
was Civil War.
No, Civil War was the
Winter
third
Soldier.
one. Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Winter Soldier. Now what the MCU is doing is they're doing these one-off shows that are a coming-of-age story for a young Indian American, right? They're doing a one-off thing by Werewolf by Night, which is a black and white period horror piece. They're doing the self-referential thing with She-Hulk that was really tapping into everything going on with feminism and, you know, cancel toxic male culture in right now. They've done a great job introducing these things in concept. Wonderful. But I think instead of just focusing on doing as many projects as possible and doing them well in a self-contained way, that they should be coming up with these ideas and say, okay, we'll do this horror genre thing in a year or so with a property that makes sense that can tie into other things well, instead of trying to make everything standalone. They tried to do the spy thriller again with Secret Invasion. It was just not good. That was a big miss, obviously. But I think the individual projects, especially on the Disney Plus shows, have been pretty solid. I just don't know what that means for the greater. There still seems to be a divide between what those mean to the MCU as a whole, and maybe Miss Marvel will really change that perception. But until the new Captain America movie comes out, I still don't feel like Sam Wilson's really Captain America. There's still a bias, at least with me, between the shows and the movies.
So Kevin,
Mike,
you're a dad. I'm a dad. Your son is 5 now?
He would tell you 5.5, just so you know. And he says it all the time.
He's not wrong. But and that's, it seems like yesterday when I remember Jad being born. So 5 years is crazy that is how old he is. You've gotten to see a lot of growth from him in that time. What are you looking forward to as a father, like seeing your kid grow up?
I'm mostly hoping that looking forward to him, becoming wildly successful and then allowing me to live off of him and mooch off of him like a terrible human being for the rest of my life. I think that would be pretty cool. The thing I'm looking forward to most is really him doing whatever the hell he wants. I have a lot of things that I love and I'm passionate about: the MCU, professional baseball, beer. It's part of my life. I am looking forward to him liking. He loves baseball right now, and I'm going to encourage that until he doesn't like it anymore. But I'm looking forward to him liking none of those things. I'm looking forward to him blazing his own path, getting excited about other stuff, and encouraging the hell out of him to do those things. Because as much as I want to connect with him on the things that I love, I also selfishly want to use him as a proxy to love new things and to get excited about dance and theater if he gets to that, because his mother is very much into it, or he starts to play soccer. I have no reference point for soccer. My dad's a huge fan, but I have no interest in the World Cup or anything to go with the Premier League. If he were to get into that, it would be amazing to learn something about that. Or another thing that Joel would love, when he gets into music that is not age appropriate for me and I will think is absolutely terrible, and then I can go, oh wow, this actually is pretty good after listening to it and giving it a chance and listening it through his ears. But it's one of the things I'm looking forward to most, is just kind of challenging my expectations and stepping back and just letting him be his own person and doing as little as possible to direct him in that way. How about you?
You hit on something that I definitely feel as well, is it's kind of learning through them about new things. Like I look forward to that because I can teach them about things that I know. I can help teach them about things that are in a textbook or whatnot. But I look forward to them learning stuff elsewhere and teaching me about them, kind of like how you were saying, and like just living vicariously through them about something that they are passionate about and want to be wildly involved in. I'm so looking forward to that. My wife and I say all the time, like, we just cannot wait to see what they get into, and not just like what kind of mischief. No, like what kind of things do they like how different they may be from one another, and because I mean they could like some similar stuff, they could like wildly different things. I mean, they're even right now they have vastly different personalities when it comes to certain things. They kind of like some of the similar characters in Sesame Street, but it seems like one is really into Elmo and one is really into Cookie Monster more so. So yeah, it'll be a real joy to just see what they really want to get into and really enjoy, and what I can learn from them about those things.
Well, when you study psychology, you realize that every single person is either an Elmo or a Cookie Monster. And that really defines a lot of who you become in the world. Every now and then you find a Grover. And strangely enough, that's me. I'm a Grover. But I feel like the Elmo Cookie Monster debate is always going on.
Are you learning this in one of your courses right now?
Oh, yeah.
Is the main focal point of class?
The main focal point of most psychology classes is Sesame Street. That's what a lot of people don't realize this, but these are the things that I'm learning as a 42-year-old full-time psychology major.
Is Bluey in the next semester?
Oh man, I hope. Bluey is the greatest show that's ever been created, other than The Good Place. But it goes The Good Place, then Bluey, then Schitt's Creek.
Like we're on probably our 6th watch through of Bluey right now, and there's things I pick up from it all the time that I'm like, oh, I missed this on the last 5 times going through it. Or every once in a while there's an episode I'm like, I don't remember this one. I know that I've seen it, but for some reason I don't remember it. And like every so often I catch, like I look over and I see my wife crying at an episode because it's just so heartfelt and beautiful. And it although I will say their house drives me insane because I am trying to picture the layout of it and it makes no sense whatsoever where rooms are throughout the house. I don't understand how it is.
So first of all, that it totally tracks with your personality. That would be the thing that you were focused on there, which I think is wonderful. But the show is freaking brilliant. I mean, not only is it incredibly well written, adults can enjoy it, get little Easter eggs, little snippets. I laugh out loud at every episode. It's absolutely hilarious. Jad, my son, has started saying biscuits every time he's upset about something, which is, first of all, goddamn adorable. Just amazing. It gives me joy every single time I hear it. But I'm also really happy because he's not saying fuck, which he has said in the past, because we don't censor speech around Jad. We tell him he should not be using certain kinds of language because people get offended by it. Some people don't think it's nice, but we don't censor speech, and that's an important part of our world, my wife and I. But the fact that he's latched on to biscuits is both adorable, and I'm thrilled because it means that his kindergarten teacher will probably be yelling at me less this year.
So you got a lot of talks, huh?
Well, no, we have not. We once had one day after we got back from Ireland, we were supposed to get back 2 days before that. Jad started kindergarten. So he's just started kindergarten. He's been in for 5 days now. And when he was in VPK, when he was in his kinder care beforehand, he got in trouble for showing his middle finger to other kids. Now, I have not flipped the bird to somebody since I was like 18. It's the most boring expression I think that there possibly is. I don't think there's any satisfaction in it. I've never seen Allie use her middle finger. I don't know where he got it. I still think he got it from another kid in class, and he was the one that got caught using it. But that was a conversation. Jad showing his middle finger to people. And
the wording of that, he showed his middle finger to, like, hey, everyone, you want to see this finger that I have here? Like, it wasn't even meant to be.
Kind of how it was. And we had to explain to him, listen, Jad, there's a lot of people in the world that get offended by gestures and words. And while we don't get offended by those things, other people will. And when you find things that people are offended by and people don't like, it's just not nice to do them. It's not bad. It's never bad. It's just something that we respect other people's views on that. And we can do that in the privacy of our own home. We can talk about whatever you want between us. But when you're out there in the universe, you should respect other people and try to be kind to them in the way that they want you to be kind to them. And
so has he shown you his middle finger at home?
He has, and no one, obviously we're on video chat, nobody else is, but every now and then he'll go, is this the one? Is this the one, Daddy? And he'll kind of not be able to just have the middle finger up. Other fingers will be up too. And he just kind of still wants to know why that was a thing. So every now and then he'll show it to me and go, my middle finger. But we haven't gotten yelled at since then.
God, there was something else that I wanted to go off of that, but I now do not remember.
But while you're thinking, I will say that we will be yelled at very soon, I'm expecting, because we also don't do Santa Claus in our home. And when Jad starts telling other kids in his class that he doesn't do Santa Claus, or maybe he doesn't believe in Santa Claus, that's going to be a thing. It was a little bit of a thing with other people in the family. It was a little bit of a thing with other people in kinder care while he was there. He actually, at this point, believes that we're lying to him, Allie and I, because
I remember you saying that last year.
Yeah, it's because Santa Claus is real. But eventually, he asked us like nicely a couple weeks ago, Daddy, Mommy, be honest, is Santa Claus really real? And we said, it's a story. It's like Bluey. It's like Pete the Cat. It's a nice story. But no. And when he finally does, resonate with that and says that to his fellow 5-year-olds, there's going to be an uproar.
You're bracing for it already.
Oh yeah, I know we're going to get a phone call or an angry knock on the door from someone in the neighborhood. We'll see.
Hopefully they don't have pitchforks. I now now remember what I was gonna. It just this one particular scene and line from Bluey that gets me every time is they do an X-ray of Dad's abdomen, and he's like, "Oh, what's that? Is that a pot plant?" And I'm like, I can't believe that they're saying that on a kids show, but just great stuff. I cannot recommend that show more. I enjoy watching it.
If you are listening to this and you do not have children, watch this show. It is good. You don't need children around at all to enjoy it.
Yeah, and you could watch all 3 seasons in probably about like 4 hours.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to know, what is something that you wish you could do more of? Like something that you do enjoy doing or have wanted to try doing, but you just don't have the time to really do it.
Wow. At some point, I'm either going to have to ask you a question or you're going to have to ask yourself a question and be the first one to respond to it because
Mike, what's life? I don't know, Mike. Good question.
One of the main things that I really wish, and I think I did a last call weeks and weeks ago about James Randi. Does that sound familiar to you, Mike?
Yeah.
So that's the world of scientific skepticism. And I once went out to a place called the Amazing Meeting, a conference called the Amazing Meeting, and it's a science
in a place called Las Vegas.
In a place called Las Vegas. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. It's this little place. You gotta know somebody to get in. But it's a conference on science and skepticism, and it's something I got into through Penn and Teller, Penn Jillette, something I got into through James Randi, the JREF, which is James Randi's Educational Foundation, Center for Inquiry, a lot of avenues. If I had more time, if I wasn't in the beer industry and if I wasn't a full-time student and, had my druthers, I'd want to be more involved in that world. I'd want to be consuming more content. I'd want to maybe be volunteering. I don't know how much the JRF is still around. After James Randi's passing, I haven't seen a lot of things. They were stationed out of Fort Lauderdale. And I also used to always dream about going and volunteering and helping out with things, but just getting involved with something like the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, which is one of my favorite podcasts, and doing something for them, whether it be helping. I mean, I can't do any editing or things like that for their podcast, but helping them put together conferences and things of that nature would be something that I would find really, really valuable. And then just the communication of scientific information, while I'm not an expert, being involved in the dissemination of that would be something I really, really, in my heart and soul, would like to be doing if I could. Now I'm just a consumer and an advocate on my own small little way, but I wish I could do more. How about you, Mike?
There's a number of things that I wish that I would do more of that I kind of have a good excuse for, and that is the kids. I can blame them for not being able to get out and do as much photography as I would like to do. But there's been one.
Blame the children.
There's one thing that's pretty much followed me almost my entire life that I wish I did more of, and I have no good excuse other than that I'm probably just a lazy fuck. I wish I read more. Almost every year I say to myself, I'm gonna read more, and I never do. Like, I really envy people who can just get lost in a book and enjoy a book. Like, I've had periods where I got really into reading a couple books, and I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm on the path, and then just something happens that is probably nothing, and then I don't read another book for another year or two. I love that the kids right now love books, and they just like pull books off of the shelf and bring them over and are like, read to me. I hope that they do not inherit my problem from me, and I hope that they they want to read books and want to stay connected to them. Who knows? Maybe they will help me get back into doing this. But yeah, man, I really wish that I could read more. There's so much stuff that has been recommended to me, given to me, that it's just I don't know what to do.
Yeah, listen, I used to read a lot. I mean, I was always reading a book. I have a whole bookshelf of books that I've actually read at some point, but it's been years and years since I picked any of those up or read anything new. Allie still reads on a regular basis. Ever since I started school, it's almost impossible to read because every moment of my time that's my own is taken up with schoolwork. But I share a lot of those same feelings as you. I'd like to reread every book I've ever written. I haven't written any books. I'd like to reread every book I've ever read, just to enjoy those things again, just like I rewatch a TV show because how important those things were for me.
Yeah, I've wanted to reread Kitchen Confidential from Bourdain for a long time, but I just find myself going and just like I had that on my through Kindle, so I have a bunch of lines just highlighted through it, and I'll just find myself going back and rereading those lines that were just impactful to me the first time that I read it, instead of going back and rereading the entire book. But yeah, there's stuff that I have read that I would love to go through again, and it's just it's fucking tough to find the time to do it.
So here's an artistic question for you. I mean, obviously you're a photographer and you've got a nice camera. You do photography professionally for your brewery. You do it for your own artistic expression. But we've also talked over the years about writing. We've talked about writing TV shows. You talk about writing basic internet kind of content. You've looked into doing your zine. Is photography the artistic venue you most enjoy expressing yourself in right now, or is it the most convenient thing for you? If you could be doing one thing artistically with your time, what would it be?
I don't think I don't think any of my expressions of our art, whether that be photography, writing, graphic design, are convenient. Because photography requires to go somewhere, get up, go, get out, and then to edit afterwards, go through all the stuff that you shot and find what you like, and there a lot of times can be stuff that you don't like, and then edit from there. I think that I probably enjoy photography the most, but I really do enjoy writing, but find it more difficult to do personally. Not that I think that photography isn't difficult, but I think that there's a whole lot to writing, a whole lot more to writing than photography. And I have gone through phases of writing and not writing. I've talked about on this podcast starting up a Substack. I haven't written on that in 3 weeks, I think now, because there's been some stuff going on in my life, but just trying to find something that engages me to write can be tough, because I don't want to just beat the dead horse of fucking craft is dumb right now. But photography is my favorite right now, because I feel like I can do a lot with it, and how I want to. You can take some very sometimes mundane looking things and create something or at least that I can create something that I really like. One thing that I hate about learning about photography is how much other photographers want to tell you what is art and what is the proper way of shooting, and I hate that. because all I'm trying to learn from you is technique on certain things. I don't want you to tell me what is art because I will make what I think is art. I will. I don't need a lecture on that. Just tell me what I'm doing wrong with my exposure or with my aperture and okay, sweet, now I understand that. Now I understand how to get sharper shots. Don't tell me what the focus should be. Don't or the object that I should be doing, and don't tell me what colors I should be using. Like, I will determine that because I am the one making it. If people like it, awesome, but I am not out here to just get fucking likes. I'm not out here to just sell a print. I'm going to make something that I like. If people get behind it, that's awesome. But, if they don't, fuck off. Fuck them. Hey, I said fuck them again. It's been involved in many text messages I've had today is fuck them. But yeah, fuck them.
That it's appropriate for our own podcast. We can tell anyone you want to fuck them, Mike. Just do it.
I will. I just did. I'll keep on saying it. And then my kids will start saying it, and then I'll get calls from the schools.
Just move them on to biscuits. Just move them on there. By the way, I will say, just talking about my travel and the fact that I thankfully did not try to do a Australian accent when I said that. The inclination and the drive to match the accent of the place you are, I did not realize how strong that was for me. And it's called I might be misusing this term, but I'm at least in the vicinity. It's called code switching in some way. Is the fact that we want to mirror the people that we're around. It's a way to fit into society. It's actually a way to be kind and to be involved and appreciative of the people that you're around. So I've said before, in our former brewery, I would often get drunk with the owner and start speaking with a Southern accent. One of the reasons I used to always say is because I grew up with a lot of people with Southern accents. My grandfather on my dad's side had a very strong Alabama drawl, and there was a lot of Southern accents in my family. So I always just assumed that I was just kind of slipping into the accent of people I grew up with in some way. Turns out, no. Put me in an area with somebody who is speaking in a different accent, and I will mirror that accent as best I can. It was probably embarrassing, but there was multiple times I was like, why the fuck am I talking like this? Am I trying to make it seem like I'm not a tourist? I don't think that's it. I think I'm just wanting to be engaged with this person. Very, very interesting.
I've read about that before. Going back to something soccer and the Premier League that you mentioned earlier, and a former U.S. national player, Brad Friedel, who played most of his professional career in England, started like many years, probably like 10 something years. So he lived in England, played in England. He developed an accent over the time from just living there and being a part of the culture. It was something like in his subconscious that he just developed. And I've heard of people doing that all the time with like moving to somewhere and staying there for a long period of time. You start becoming like assimilating might not be the right thing, but you start becoming part of that area and that culture and that dialect.
In a few days, Mike? Is that a normal thing in a few days, or am I just kind of an asshole? I've never. I remember when Madonna, she married Guy Ritchie, and she was living in England. Everyone was making fun of her because she was speaking in a British accent. I've never understood Madonna more than going to Ireland because I'm there. I'm with you. I would if I married a woman with an Irish accent and spent 2 months there, you couldn't stop me from speaking with an Irish accent. With a gun to my head, I couldn't stop it. So I completely understand it now.
I think that there's also full a romanticism for some like Americans of like the British Isle accents and like Australian accents that people think like they're so cool sounding. So going there, like, and you start hearing it more, you're like, I can sound like that too, and you might just subconsciously be saying like, I can do this too, I can fit in, and like I just when listening to the Good Place podcast, there's a conversation between Jamila Jamil about like how much she loves American accents. And she's like, I hate my accent. And I've always looked up to American accents from watching like American comedies growing up. And Mark Evan Jackson's like, it is like the complete opposite to us here is like, we think that our accent sucks and we think that English accents are the amazing thing. So there is like this grass is greener effect to just like accents in general that people are like if they like them and they look up to them and they like the terminology that they use, they might be more inclined to if they're in that culture to just try it on and see how it fits and just go with it.
It's a great explanation.
There's so many things that they say over there that I wish that I could just fit into my fucking lexicon. Like, I just want one time to be able to say, and Bob's your uncle, just off the top of my head, because it just sounds so cool.
I recently texted that to my dad, and he sent me back multiple question marks, which usually means for most people that they're confused about something, but I'm not quite sure because he does that often, and I'm sometimes confused as to whether or not he's confused or he is joking. I never quite know.
We're now going to get a comment from your dad onto our website responding to that. So
yeah, this is the way I communicate with him. We text, and I also should send little shout outs on our podcast that he can then listen to and respond.
On our website.
Yeah.
That.
Got to do it your own way. Got to be you.
Kevin, what
Mike?
are you looking forward to in the beer world to bring this back to our bread and butter, if you will?
I forgot this was a beer podcast, so thank you for mentioning that. I've really enjoyed several of the conversations that I've had with Ralph recently. I think I might have mentioned this on a recent show, but we were talking about the recipe formulation. We just reformulated our Imperial Stout. We just brewed a Marzen. I'm really looking forward to the next several years to keep pumping out the classic beers that we do, our staples, but doing new beers that are classic recipes and being really, really proud of them when they turn out. And I assume they'll turn out well because I've got a great staff of people that know exactly how to make great beer. I'm looking forward to not chasing the hype train and the thing that's going to possibly blow us up and, oh my God, can you believe they made a beer with fucking cumin and starfruit? I don't know. By the way, please don't do that. I'm looking forward to making more Marzens and going and drinking a great porter and going, let's make a freaking amazing porter that we're so proud of to pour to anybody that walks in our place. So that's the thing. I'm getting a little bit off my desire to be loved by everybody and looking forward to a future where the people that are involved in the recipe formulation, the people that are involved in the brewing, and everyone at our brewery can just be super proud of the beers we're doing, and everyone else can be damned. You don't have to like our Marzen, but I just tried it out of the fermenter, and it's fucking incredible. And I'm going to take home 7 cases, and I don't care if you drink it or not.
I'm looking forward to trying that.
I'm going to let you speak real quick, but I tried it, and I was sipping it, and I can see the look on Ralph's face. And I said, I think this might be like incredible, but it's not carbonated yet. It's still lagering. There's still some time for it. I'm like, I think this might be really, really good. And, I can't be the judge of that completely because I'm biased, obviously, but I'm pretty excited about it. Please, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I'm looking forward to a return to small. I'm looking forward to a return to craft being craft again. Um, without saying something like make craft again. Um, the
Even though you just said that.
Yeah,
Okay. Good.
because that's how I roll. I always do the thing that I say that I'm not gonna say. But there's been so much doom and gloom in this industry. There's been so many breweries trying to just get big and grow because of any number of things. There's closures, there's consolidations. There was just that big consolidation while you were, or sell off from ABE while you were on vacation that I meant to text you. Oh, yeah, you don't know about this. So AB sold off 8 of their brands to Tilray, I believe is the name of the company. The cannabis company that owns Sweetwater, Green Flash, and Alpine bought from them of note that I can remember: Shock Top, Blue Point, 10 Barrel, Breckenridge, Highball, some cider company. Oh man, I almost got all of them. Um, but like they sold off 8 brands to them, including Shock Top, which was the big one to me because that's not even a purchase. That was wholly AB created. Yeah, AB just dumped them off for, I think it was like $86 million, which funny enough is the same amount of money that Sapporo paid for Anchor a few years ago. This company paid for 8 brands.
Wow. You often will needle me a
Oh,
little bit for not knowing about these things that are happening. And I sometimes do get some whiffs and understand some of these things. I had no idea this had happened. So this is legitimately news to me.
yeah, it's pretty big deal. I'm trying to pull up. Oh, here we go. It is Shock Top, Breckenridge, Blue Point, 10 Barrel, Red Hook, Widmer Brothers, Square Mile Cider Company, and Highball Energy.
I mean, so Red Hook and Widmer Brothers were two of the craftiest crafts in that portfolio for a very, very long time, especially for the AB houses down here in Florida. And you saw a lot of big name, little name beers, especially with the Red Hook beers, as house brands all over Florida. I mean, Shock Top is a major. I mean, I'd make a wit. Shock Top is a major competitor to ours and has been since our inception. And both Breckenridge and Blue Point are two very good breweries. Breweries I absolutely love. I mean, Breckenridge Vanilla Porter, one of my early entries into the beer game, and Toasted Lager, still a great beer to this day. So, wow, we could have done the whole episode just on this.
Yeah, I was going to text you when it came out, but I'm like, he's in Ireland. I don't even know if he has his service turned on, so I'll just wait till he comes back to talk about this. It's funny but yeah, like the Red Hook and Widmer were the CBA brands, which I mentioned on a previous episode, I believe, that how Kona has been kind of branched, like the Kona part of this is of AB is fucking weird because AB still owns Kona, the brand, and is pushing very hard on Big Wave right now. But the brewery in Hawaii is independent and makes brands under the Kona brand name independently and sells them independently. But Big Wave and Kona, those are still owned by AB. It's fucking weird. But yeah, the CBA is practically like, I know they got completely bought out a couple years ago, but like now they pretty much don't own any of them except for Big Wave, Winwood, and I think that's kind of it. Because yeah, Red Hook and Widmer and Kona, those were like the three of the Craft Brewers Alliance.
Yeah, I mean those are legacy brands in a lot of ways, and this is a shifting ground that we're constantly seeing. I mean, we've had so many conversations about how big beer can't make money with craft, and
Yeah.
it's just more proof of that. They can't even. I mean, listen, I'm sure Shock Top was a very valuable brand for them for a long time. They had a very strong market share at one point. But if they can't even make money with Shock Top anymore, where are they at?
I know Shock Top is down quite a bit, but its volume, I can't. I'm not gonna look for it right now, but I remember seeing something like the amount of volume they still sell is considerable compared to a lot of brands.
Oh, I mean, it's still massive, but when you see the losses for a long period, 4 years, every time I talked about the Wizard White Ale, I would say Shock Top and Blue Moon. And I don't even know if I was cognizant of the loss of market share from Shock Top, but in the last several years, I always talk about, it's similar to Blue Moon as far as style. If you're trying to compare it to something macro style, and not even using the Shock Top name anymore, because I see it in it's just fewer and fewer outlets where that's available. So maybe that just kind of seeped into my consciousness that brand was suffering. And it just goes to show you could be selling, I mean, what Shock Top sells compared to what we sell, different worlds, but they're still not successful because they're losing market share and they become something that's expendable. Whereas we make 2,500 barrels a year and we're doing backflips.
Yeah. But yeah, this was like the big news of like a week ago, or probably a couple weeks by the time that this comes out. Just more of this movement and consolidation, and I don't think that it's anywhere close to being over. Any other questions you want to put out there?
I told you when we were texting about this episode that I would not have a chance to put together a lot of questions just because of my time constraints and when we came up with this concept. So I was pretty proud that I think I asked one good question during this episode, and I'm just going to stand pat on that and just say I've done my job.
All right, then let's get into last calls. The part in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want. Beverage related, not beverage related. It is uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected. And with this, Kevin, go ahead.
Mike, did you know that on the date that we are recording this, it is Roller Coaster Day, National Roller Coaster Day in the world?
I did not.
Yes, no, of course.
National in the world.
Well, you know what I'm saying. In some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's the U.S. I don't know. It came up as like a pop-up and notification on my phone. I didn't read too much into it, but it got me to thinking about how much I love roller coasters and theme parks. You asked me earlier on, like, what I want to be doing if I could be involved in something else other than the beer industry and if I had more time. The real answer I wanted to say was, I just want to go to theme parks. I just want to ride roller coasters for pure joy. If you gave me a like pretty badass RV and just told me I could drive around the country to every single roller coaster theme park in the world, that's what I would do because I just love them. I loved growing up and going to Cedar Point. I love the fact that we have a lot of theme parks here in Florida, and it's like my favorite place to be. I look forward to it all the time. I follow all the content on YouTube and all the different platforms talking about new rides coming out and the Top Thrill Dragster revamp in Cedar Point. I would encourage anyone. I'm a 42-year-old man. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to ride roller coasters until, like, of course, I get a little bit older and possibly I won't have a stomach for it. They are my favorite things in the world. I encourage anybody, if you are scared of them, if you have a park in your local neighborhood or your local city, whatever state, go out and give yourself a chance. Go up there and enjoy freedom of flying hundreds of feet in the air all over the place. It's pure joy. I just, that's where I want to be, Mike. That's where I want to be for the rest of my life when I retire, traveling the world, going to theme parks. Maybe you can come along with me sometimes.
I would enjoy that from time to time. I wanted to bring to attention a little interview that I watched last week with someone who I know that Kevin is a big fan of, Adam Conover, who some people know as Adam Ruins Everything, a TV show that he did on, I think it was True TV, for a number of years. He was on the podcast Offline with Jon Favreau, not that Jon Favreau, but talking about the Writers Guild strike and a little bit about the SAG strike, and explaining where they stand, because he is a board member of the Writers Guild, and he very amazingly lays out what they are fighting for and how much of their living is at stake with this, and the norms of how television and movies are written and what big studios are trying to do to push them out and do as little as possible and make as little as possible and pretty much not be able to live in the cities that they are required to pretty much live in order to work in the industry that they are in. He is just a fantastic speaker in general. I've always been a fan of him speaking. He's funny, yet very to the point and factual, and backs up everything that he says with facts. I mean, the guy was all about facts with his television show. But man, it really opens your eyes up even more about how little appreciation the people who make us entertained get from their bosses. And I think that that's fucking sad. And you watch, we've talked so much in these 100 episodes about television and movies that we love. We talked about The Good Place so many times, that has fantastic writing and fantastic acting, that none of that is possible starting with those writers. And if we don't want to pay those people who are so brilliant to come up with amazing stuff like that, then we don't deserve good entertainment. And I just, with the profits that these companies are making, just pay those people what they need to live and show them the respect that they deserve. So yeah, go listen to Adam Conover on Jon Favreau's Offline and learn a bit more if you really need to and want to.
And may I add, listen to Adam Conover's Factually podcast. That is a weekly podcast that comes out, and talks to experts from every walk of life. I just listened to an episode that was talking about poverty and financial injustice throughout the United States. There are episodes about criminal justice, everything you can think of, AI, just in-depth, brilliant conversations and fact-based information. It's one of my favorite podcasts. It's one of the ones I listen to on a regular basis.
Yeah, I will. I am in a hardcore just let me only listen to the Good Place podcast right now phase. But once I am done with that, I will go and add that to my repertoire.
Factually is great. It used to be called the Adam Ruins Everything podcast when he still had Adam Ruins Everything, but there were legal things about that. So you can get, I believe you can get the whole archive of all the conversations he said over time. But there have been so many of those episodes that have given me a different perspective on everything that it's shocking. I listened to Adam Ruins Factually from Adam Conover, and I go, I want every person in the world to listen to these episodes because I feel like they phrase things and put things in such a different perspective than I've ever heard before.
Yeah. Anything you want to plug, Kev?
I'm not sure if I plugged this on the last show, but I'll just do it again anyway. So I was recently on the BAOS podcast with my good friend Craig, and it was like a 3.5 hour podcast. You can see it on YouTube. There's a video aspect of it if you really want to see my gorgeous face through the entire time, or you can go to the podcast feed and listen to it. We talked about Barrel Amongst Beer in general, but we talked about hip hop. We talked about philosophy. We talked about enjoying the things you enjoy regardless of whether people think about it. It was a really great conversation. I always love talking to Craig. We had Craig on here obviously a few months ago, and I highly recommend, if you are not turned off by the sound of my voice, to go over there and check out the BAOS podcast feed and check out the episode that I was on.
Awesome. I don't really have a whole lot to plug. You can just follow me at Mike Loves Beer on the socials and all of that. You can follow the show at United We Drink on X, I believe is what they want to be called now. At United We Drink Pod on Instagram and Threads. We're on all of the major podcast streaming services. And our website is unitedwedrink.com. If you have been a listener for the last 100 episodes, thanks so much. If you joined us along the way and stuck with us, also a big fucking thanks to you. Please join in the conversations that we have online. It's always fun to talk with listeners and fans, and I've met people through this show, so I would love to meet more of you if you are so inclined. Other than that, we will be back in a couple of weeks with another new episode. I believe we are going to talk about travel, which is something that I love doing a lot, and Kevin has talked about doing that from the very recent travels. How that goes with beer and all of that. I'm looking forward to conversing about that. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back again. Cheers.
Cheers.
I took the lead. Somebody's heart. Zula.
On FM, digital radio and online. This is BBC Radio 4.
are ridiculous. Well, he's so ridiculous that the Bears are going to bring somebody in.
Good evening. This is The World Tonight with Rita Shah. Ed Miliband's ruled out a coalition with the Scottish Nationalists if there's a hung parliament.